Good morning. Hey, I thought I'd make a short video here on the engine operation on the Terminators. This is for the 2022 and 2023 Terminator series weed zappers. So first we're going to start right back here at the engine itself. This is what we call the right hand side. Also, you see the exhaust manifold side, so this is the exhaust side of the engine. Those little bitty yellow connectors right there, those are actually, two of them are for the water. One of them is for the exhaust temp sensors. You can see the cabling going up to those sensors. 12-volt starter. On the T1 series, they typically have two batteries here by the engine. The T2 and T3 series typically use the batteries of the machine itself. You can see we have a oil drain there for changing the motor oil. Pretty simplistic. Then we get over here to the control side of it. This is a 12-volt relay. This actually takes signal from our ECM down to our starter. We have our right side engine harness, which has a gray plug on the end of it. Our left side engine harness, which has a black plug on it. The left side engine harness also run the accelerator and the fuel shutoff. Then we have our communication wire, which goes over to our control panel located above the generator. On our engine controller itself, we have a couple different settings on it. We have the manual setting. This allows the engine to be run without the computer or the monitor inside. We have a run start. We have the throttle on and off. Everything over here is for the manual side. These left or right two switches are for the manual side of the engine controls. If it's in the auto controls, these switches do nothing, as that is all controlled through the engine monitor. We have a 30 amp fuse here for power protection. We'll go inside and take some. Please notice the power and status lights. We have green for power, blue if we are communicating with the monitor inside. We have a low oil pressure indicator and a hot water or temp indicator. We'll go inside and take a look at the controls inside. Okay, continuing on here, we see our monitor pictured here on the screen at this point. Our engine parameters are at the top of the monitor over here. Starting from left to right, we have our RPM indicator dial, engine oil pressure indicator dial, exhaust temperature indicator dial, and water temperature indicator dial. We have our start engine button, throttle on, throttle off, stop engine, and menu. There is a passwords section in the monitor that allows the owner to actually install passwords to keep people from bypassing safeties. We can discuss that further, but we would do that by phone call. So we're going to go ahead and hit our drop down menu for our engine here. So we see that we have a error history of any errors that have occurred within the last 3 hours. We have our two water temperature indicators at the top on the right hand side, our exhaust temperature, two oil pressure sensors. We have our start amps, so whenever we would hit our start button, we would see that top button on the right over here. We would see this turn green, and we would see the amps that we're actually sending not to the starter, but this is just the amps that the coil is requiring. We have our fuel on and off. It's red right now because our engine is not running. If our engine was running, that would be green, and we would actually see the amps just to the left of it here, the 0.03. We would actually see how many amps our fuel solenoid was pulling. Next, we have our throttle actuator. Once again, if we were running at high idle, we would see that being green, and we would actually see how many amps that's pulling. And then we have our engine fan, and that actually has a percentage, so we can see how much or how fast that fan is trying to turn. Down below that, we have a 30 amp fuse indicator. We see it's green, so our fuse is good. Down below that, We have our auto mode and our door mode. We are in auto, as we saw in our engine controller in the back, so we're controlling it by the monitor up here. We have our green door indicator. Basically, green means the door is shut, red means the door is open or the sensor is not in control. We have our manual fan control. Whenever we hit that button, we see the pop-up, so we can manually turn the fan on, and we can increase the speed or slow the speed down. This works kind of nice to cool off the cabinet. Your sprayer engine must be running to do this, but it works kind of nice to cool off the cabinet if you have to make an adjustment inside the cabinet after you've been running. Once again, if you do this, shut it off before you get in there. It gets kind of noisy, and you don't want to take any chances of getting hurt. So we'll go ahead and exit that menu. Okay, to start our engine, we press our start button. It asks for a 4-digit password. The standard password on that sent from us is 1234. 1, 2, 3, 4. Enter. At this point, we can go ahead and start our engine. Engine is started. Once the engine is started, we see our oil pressure come up. We see our water and exhaust temperature starting to change here. We're at 92. Of course, water will change more slowly. We can go ahead and accelerate our engine. Throttle on. Engine accelerated. We see our RPM go up into our operating range. Throttle off. We see our RPMs idle back down. In the menu here, we'll go ahead and go into it again. We see that our fuel is now on. Our throttle is off. I'll turn it back on again here. Now our throttle is on. Our engine fan is on. Go ahead and stop our engine. This concludes our video.